the agenda setting meeting that we had agreed would go to executive rather than straight to council. A couple items I'm referring to are items 11.6 and 11.7. The discussion at the agenda setting meeting was to go to executive first, to have wholesome discussion with the elected and with the administration president or present, so that we can ask our questions and flesh some of the issues out. It's a bit of a new way of doing things, and so I think that's where it should go. And those were my words at the agenda setting meeting. And while I appreciate the conversation that took place a day later, the decision at the agenda setting meeting was to send those two items to executive. So with the permission of the mover and with
No, when those items come forward, if you just stand and refer them.
Okay.
That's how, because the agenda's already there, or you want to see if you can remove them first.
Well, I think before we approve the agenda, what we agreed to at the agenda setting meeting, my role as deputy mayor currently, is to send them to executive. So that's where it should be, not at today's council meeting.
Okay. So is the mover prepared to remove those, or do you want to leave them for discussion when the items come up? Oh. Now, how do I jump them though? Because I got Dennis in the queue. Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry, Councillor Ed.
Thank you. No, I did have questions about those two items specifically, just to confirm 11.6, 11.7. So I have no problem going for them to go back to the executive.
Okay. Give me 1 sec here. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you. I just want to rise on a point of order that I want to acknowledge that we're on Treaty 6 territory, home and traditional homeland of the Métis people, and that's where this meeting is being conducted today.
Thank you. Councillor Cody.
Yes, Your Worship. I'm not so sure we should defer these two items. And the reason I'm saying that is that, you know, we are getting to the spring of the year when construction starts. And these two items definitely have something to do with our construction season. And I think it would be really bad news if we held this up for an executive meeting and then for a council meeting to be passed later on, and it would interfere in our construction season. I don't think we have a very long season as it is, and to do that, I think would be a little bit troublesome to me. So I'd certainly would not be in favor of removing him from the agenda tonight.
And that's why I suggested that we speak at them when they come up, because I'd like to ask the director what this delay is going to do, because you're right, we're soon to be in construction season. Councillor Edwards?
Yes, thank you. I concur with Councillor Cody that if there's going to be any delays in our paving, then I'm not in favor of delaying it. Our next council meeting is scheduled for May 3rd. So if there's any work that can be done, and maybe there can't be done any prior to that, then I wouldn't be in favor if we're going to delay it. If they think that they can do some work prior, or if the city manager believes we can do some work in April, I'm not in favor of postponing this.
Well, and that's why I would like it the other way, because I'd like the director to answer, you know, because this is just the first step. From there, then they have to go back and negotiate rates and fees. Then they have to come back to us again for approval. So this is one of many steps. So that was my concern at the time that I brought it forward. But I see Councillor Zirakowski.
Thank you, Worship. And I agree with my colleagues. Absolutely, the season is short. We need to get moving on that. My point is, we decided at the agenda setting meeting that this would go to executive. That's my point. Despite the value of what we're talking about here, that was the decision made. So if we're not going to follow the decisions we made in our committees, and especially in the agenda setting meeting, then why are we meeting? For what purpose if decisions are made in spite of us not being there. So I take comments from my colleagues to heart. Well said, I agree, but the decision made at agenda setting was to go to council, or to go to executive, and all of a sudden now it appears here at the council agenda. Not the process that we all agreed to, not how we do business.
Okay, thank you. I hear no other comments, so I'm gonna open the vote. Oh, yeah, just let me. Oh, I put closed on. What did I do? I had it closed, but then I opened it. Okay,
So now you're ready to vote?
they're ready to vote now?
That's the minutes. Approval agenda, now press ready to vote. Yeah, now you're.
Okay,
You just have to press open.
I have to press open?
You
Okay,
cast the vote.
the vote is ready to vote. The motion is ready. It's on the screen. Oh, we're missing one.
Did you vote?
Yes, I did. It doesn't matter, it passes. Motion carries. Oh, that's a yes? Okay.
If you say close here. Accept. Say accept, and then it goes.
We're ready to go.
And then press the next item, which is approval of minutes. Yeah, approval of minutes.
Thank you. Now I'm ready, I'm refreshed. Approval of the minutes. Councilor Miller.
That the minutes of the council meeting, regular meeting held March 15, 2021, and the special council meeting held March 29, 2021 be taken, read, and adopted.
Thank you, Councilor Gilmore.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Hearing no discussion, I'll move to the vote. The voting's open, so I'll ask you to vote. Who's it not recording? Okay, oh, you got it. Thank you, the motion carries. Okay, notice of proclamations. I had quite a few this last period. 6.1, Human Values Day, April 24th, 2021. Saskatchewan Guiding Week, April 11th to 17th. National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, April 11th to the 17th. Saskatchewan Construction Association, April 19th to the 23rd. Then the last one, Distracted Driving Awareness Month, April of 2021. Presentations, there is none. Public hearings. right here. I want to add him. Add podium, right? You're up, Director.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. Thank you, members of council, for the opportunity. As you know, Bylaw 6 of 2021 is in regards to the official community plan. Tonight's report is for second and third reading to that bylaw. The official community plan is being amended to incorporate rules, regulations, and policies to allow development to move forward within our floodplain. We have done a number of public engagement events. It's certainly no secret there have been many communications, and this is a controversial topic that we've received a lot of feedback on. As a group, council chose to get more accurate and detailed information, which we have done through grant funding, and I believe now we are in a position to move this bylaw amendment forward. I've said it before, but I want to say it again, that we're not asking for City Council's approval of the 1 in 500 year floodplain. As you know, that has already been established through the province back in 2012. What we're asking for this evening is to approve Bylaw 6 so that we are able to move development forward. And that's what we heard loud and clear at our public engagement sessions, is that people want to be able to continue to renovate and construct new homes in the floodplain, which we've done about 30 building permits so far based on these draft policies. And I believe it's time that we formally adopt them. Without further ado, I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you. Is there any questions of the Director? Okay. Hearing none, I'm moving to the vote. The motion, yeah. Oh, I need a mover for the motion, please, sorry. Councillor Gilmore.
Thank you. I move that bylaw number 6 of 2021 be given second and third reading.
Thank you. Seconder? Second. Councillor Zirakowski? You? A minute here. Official community plan. Ready to vote?
Yep.
Yep.
Open, just open.
No, I hit open, then it goes to close. It's open now, I think. Okay, can I ask everyone to vote? Thank you. Motion carries.
Mayor Dion. We now have bylaw number 6 of 2021
Yeah, when she brings it up, yep.
to amend the official community plan, bylaw number 21 of 2015, section 10.9, floodplain risk areas, and schedule 16.1.9. The bylaws for second and third readings today.
Thank you. Seconder? Oh, sorry, mover, and then a seconder. Councillor Gilmore. Councillor Gilmore.
I move that bylaw number 6 of 2021 be read a second time.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Zirakowski.
Seconded, yep.
Discussion? Hearing none, I'll prop the vote. Okay, it's open to vote. Voting's closed, motion carries. Councillor Kilmore. Uh-oh. Councillor Kilmore.
I move that bylaw number 6 of 2021 be read a third time and passed, and that bylaw number 6 of 2021 be now adopted, sealed, and signed by the mayor and city clerk.
Thank you. Councillor Zierakowski.
Seconded?
Thank you. Councillor Cody.
Yes, before we go on to third reading, Your Worship, I'm certainly going to vote for it because I know that it's a foregone conclusion, but without regurgitating what our Director of Planning has said, I just want to reiterate one more time that it is not this council's wish to accept the 1 in 500 floodplain zone. It is not. And I want the public to know that we fought hard and long over the last 4 or 5 years to get this changed, but we couldn't do it. I'm waiting for the day. I may not be here anymore, but I'll still be fighting. I believe in fighting for my citizens, and I think it was worthwhile fighting for them. And I'm going to continue fighting even when I'm not here. Because I think one day we will have a new government, and that government will come to time and say, yes, I think maybe there was an error made here. And that error can be fixed. And it can be fixed with simplicity. If you look at many jurisdictions we have around us that have flooding all the time, they don't have 1 in 500. They might have 1 in 400. That would take another 200 or 300 homes out of that flood zone. They might have 1 in 250. I think that's what we have along the Bow River. Tremendous flood. Practically cleaned out Calgary. We haven't had anything like that here. But I'm going to fight until my dying day to see that we can get this changed, and not fighting it for Don Cody because I live there. I'm fighting it for the citizens of this city who pay taxes here, who have the right to be heard and haven't been heard properly. I have to congratulate our Director of Planning. He's done an utmost great job, and he's been very patient, and he did all he could, and he's got every grant possible to mitigate. And I say thank you very much to Craig for the good job he did. But we will continue to fight this issue until our dying day.
Thank you. Any other comments? Well, I'll just add one. Anyone that's been watching the national news the last couple of days, Australia has a major flood. And I found it interesting. They ruled that major flood as a 1 in 100. And so I'm kind of worried what a 1 in 500 flood would ever look like. Okay, so with that, I'll prompt the vote again. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. It carried unanimously. Thank you. Next. Did we give it 3 readings? That was third. Oh, that was third. Thank you. So we're moving on. Right here. Next one, right?
Communications for the education property tax.
Okay, we have no delegations. We have no communications. So we're going to move on to our report.
No, this is a communication.
Oh, sorry, we do have a communication, sorry. 2021 property education tax. Councillor Zepp.
I move that the correspondence be received as information and filed.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Cody.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we have any indication from the separate school board. I see in the report that they usually don't give us their indication until May. But I'm just wondering if we have any indication whatsoever of what it may be, because that makes a little bit of a difference on those who are in the separate school system.
I'll check, but I don't think, city manager, I don't think we've heard from the separate school board. No, we haven't got a correspondence, sorry. Okay, everyone ready for the vote? The vote is open. Vote's closed, accepted, carried, thank you. So now we're moving on to reports of administration. There we go, now I can start. First one is development permit, personal service care home, 4260 Fifth Avenue East. Councillor Edwards?
Also move that the development permit application for a person service establishment to be located at 4260 Fifth Avenue East be approved.
Thank you. Councillor Head?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any comments? Hearing none. Oh, just hang on, sorry. Let me go back. Councillor Zepp?
Just for the public's information, that the report indicates that this would be a beauty salon, I believe, and I just thought I'd make that known.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the vote is open. The vote is closed. Carried, accepted. Next item is development permit, application for public assembly, 903 Central Avenue. Reject. Recall it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Councillor Zepp?
I move that the development permit application for a public assembly use to be located at 903 Central Avenue be approved.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Zepp?
Just for the public's information, the report indicates that this is the address of the Rock Trout Cafe that subsequently was the Tartan Table, and that the public assembly use as listed in the report is indicated things like concert venue and wedding venue, that type of thing, and I just wanted to make that known. Thank you.
You went way too far, right there. No, not the motor grader. Okay, I hear no discussion. Voting is open. Voting is closed. Carried. Ready to speak? I don't have it up on the board. Is that where we're at, the motor grader? Okay. We're at 11.2, motor grader tender. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. 11.3 actually. Based on the report, I see that we had put out a tender, and administration is saying that the CAT in this case is the more economical to own and operate. So in that case, I'll move that the tender number 14 of 2021 for the purchase of a new motor grader be awarded to Finding Equipment at a total cost of $381,786.72, which includes taxes from the Equipment Replacement Reserves Fund, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute any applicable documents on behalf of the city if required.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? I do have a question of whoever's going to answer it, fleet manager or director, on this motor grader. What is the benefit of an all-wheel drive? We don't have any, so I notice this is an all-wheel drive, and so that's really brought the price up. So if somebody could answer to me what the change is to go into an all-wheel drive and what the benefit is.
Thank you very much for the question, Mayor. The benefit in this case is that as you are correct, this would be our very first one. We've never had an all-wheel drive grader, but during the ice storm of January and the large snowstorm that we had in November, it was noticed that sometimes the graders would have some difficulty pressing through that heavy snow, but especially it was the ice, and cutting through it, the wheels would spin just normally, just like a two-wheel drive vehicle would. So we would like to have at least one all-wheel drive grader that would help cut through the heavy ice when we do have those icy conditions. It would be the only one that we would request, but we don't see a need for an additional one.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Could, one question before you go, Director. What was the difference in price from a two-wheel to an all-wheel drive?
On the one that was selected, it was $26,800.
More because of an all-wheel drive?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll prompt the vote again. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. Accepted. Carried. Mike, can you mute your mic? I did. Oh, you did? Thank you. Okay, I'm ready for the next question. Is 11.4 compact wheel loader tender. Councillor Kilmore.
Hi, thank you. I move that the tender number 19 of 2021 for the purchase of a new compact wheel loader be awarded to Redhead Equipment at a total cost of $143,291.01, which includes taxes from the Equipment Replacement Reserve Fund and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute any applicable documents on behalf of the city if required.
Thank you. Councillor Zepp?
A second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none. The voting is now open. Voting is now closed, accepted, carried. Oop. Right. Okay, 11.5, request for water bill reduction, 881 18th Street West. Councilor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. That the water bills for 50 houses along the 600 block and the 900 block of 18th Street West be reimbursed for a month to be charged back to the West Hill trunk sewer main project. That more fill and gravel be placed in driveways now at the 800 block of 18th Street West. People are still getting stuck in their driveways. The road is fine now, but the driveways they're still getting stuck in. Thank you.
Councilor Bodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Councilor Zierakowski.
Thank you. I'm supportive of the motion. I need a little, in the spirit of the motion, I'm in favor. I need some help on a couple of pieces of detail. I'd like to know if it's 50 houses or 48. Is it 52, 49? So if we can hear from administration on that. How many units are actually being reimbursed for their water? And as well, the changing of the motion placed in driveways, what's the justification for that? Was the work done on the driveways and they were destroyed during the work? Or is this something we're doing because of the road work? I'm unsure of the changing of number 2 from the roadway to the driveways for the folks. So I appreciate the work that the department has done on that road over the last few weeks. Certainly it's better than when the snow melted, and thank you for Councillor Miller to bringing that to the floor. But if we could hear from administration, please.
Okay. Do you want to speak first, Councilor Miller, or do you want to? Go ahead, Councilor Miller.
I understand that I'm not administration. However, there's about 50. There is 50 houses. There was a few houses that were boarded up, so I didn't count those in. So that's why it's kind of like an even number. So I canceled the ones that were boarded up and weren't being used. As for the driveways, so you know how you have the roadway and then you're supposed to have a boulevard and then your driveway goes through it. And so, and it's supposed to be a sidewalk too, but there's no sidewalk there. So the driveway to go in is still muddy. And so, yeah, it's a mess.
Thank you. Do we want to? Yes, let's hear from the director, and then I'll start with Councillor Brocknick and then Councillor Zepp. Their director, who's ever there. Go ahead, Director.
Thank you for the questions. So in relationship to the street and the roadways, The contractor will be returning this week to do some more work. We've had to wait for the snow to disappear and for the weather to warm up. He will be doing some touch-ups in the driveways that are on the city property, the boulevard area, and he will be returning later in the month to do all the deficiencies, the seasonal deficiencies, the cleanup of the roadway and the boulevards and the parkway going up the hill. As far as the number of houses and things like that, I wouldn't mind if I could ask the manager of capital projects to answer that question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question. So for the number of houses that were affected during the project, I had finance provide me with the water consumption at that time, and they've indicated that there, of the 38 residents, of the 38 water meters that are shown from 6th Avenue through the 9th Avenue, there's 38 residences, and of those 32 residences had water during the billing date.
Okay, so the question was though, it said that we were going to refund the money to 50 houses. So the actual number is 38? How many houses are active on that street that are going to get a refund?
There were 32 water consumption charges during the drinking water advisory period that was provided to me from finance.
So the number is 32?
Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions before I let Capital Works Manager go? Oh, well, I'm going to go down the list. I'll just have you stand by. And I'll go down the list to Councillor Bodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I totally support Councillor Miller's motion, and obviously as I seconded it, and it's the right thing to do. We had a resident come and speak to us at executive, Ms. Bouchard, I do believe it was, explaining the situation. The city made a mistake. We did not handle this construction properly, and we agreed at executive to somehow compensate these residents. Now I hear it's only 32 of 38 houses that had a bill. I don't know how you don't get a bill, during a month, but
Boarded up houses.
it's 32 of 38, and according to Councilor Miller, it's 50. Regardless of the number, the important thing is that we get from the 600 block to the 900 block covered, and that those residents that were inconvenienced for a long period of time get reimbursed at least the 1 month that was charged to them. So I totally support this. I think it's a nice gesture, and it's a good way of admitting that we don't always do things correct, or to sometimes during construction things go wrong, and there's oversights, and this is a way of correcting it and making it right for those residents along 18th Street West. So thank you, Councillor Miller, for continuing to push forward this important issue and enlightening us all on what was going on 18th Street. So once again, thank you.
Councillor Zepp?
I support the motion, and just on the driveway question, I think the director, Mr. Hicks, answered it better than I could say, but I just wanted to make note that I also had a resident contact me on the 600 block here about the driveway issue, and that, as the director mentioned, it's the issue on the boulevard, the city portion there, and the city does deal with that, but it's quite a large dip of missing gravel, because these are gravel roads, they're not paved, and so when the roadway gets redone, it still needs that help on the boulevard portion.
Councillor Zierakowski?
Great, thank you for that. It is city, and thank you for that clarification to the manager. It is city-owned land, it's not private land. It's up on the boulevard where the green grass grows. So I'm supportive of the motion, of course. I think we need to move forward on this. We need to hold the contractor accountable, and I'm looking forward to that, improving that practice with our contractors as we move forward. But can we please get the information correct? What is the right number? If it's 32, let's put 32. If it's 38, let's put 38. I think that is important. Is it 50? If it's 50, but there's a number up there, and I just ask that we get it correct.
Thank you. I see, oh. Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you. I'd like a little bit more clarification on, I do want to say I do support the motion, but I do want more clarification on the report that the manager offered in addition to this. Is this the time that I would ask that question?
Yeah.
In it, she discusses that temporary water included overland services, which were tied to the fire hydrant. I didn't quite understand what that meant, so therefore it was circumventing the water meters in those blocks. I, for some reason, originally thought it was people's outdoor hose that was providing water for them during that time. So my question is, what does it mean, the overland services tied to the fire hydrant, therefore people were not charged for water usage during the construction? And is that, am I reading that correctly from that report?
Capital Works Manager.
Thank you for the question and the opportunity to clarify. During the time that the water main was not in use, temporary water services were provided from the 6th Avenue to 8th Avenue. At that time, it was tied into a hydrant, so it did not go through the water meter. So that is also provides clarity on why the 38 versus the 32. So there are 38 meters along from 6th Avenue to 9th Avenue, but there are only 32 properties that had water consumption during the time that drinking water advisories were in effect for the properties during a month, the month time that drinking water.
And the reason for that? Boarded up houses not rented? Was there a reason why the difference?
I can't speak to the difference. There may be just, there wasn't as much where there weren't being, I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have that information.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Zierkowski.
Well, again, I'd just like to get the correct number, so I wonder if the mover would change the number from 50 to a more accurate number that reflects the information that we heard today.
Councillor Miller.
Hi. So anyways, I'm the one who actually physically drove the street. I know how many people are there, or how many houses are there. There's 50 houses, and there's about 5 to 6 that are boarded up. So I'm leaving it at 50.
No, I'd leave the number then. Any other comments? Councillor Zapp.
I think I support the 50, and I guess I'm still unclear on if somebody, let's say if there were 38 houses that have water bills, but only 32 operated with water during that drinking water advisory time, I don't know that the 6 in between there should be omitted from this, just because I don't know enough, I think, information about that. There could be good reasons why they weren't operating using water during that period. I know that in the 700 block, I did have a family contact me at the time that this was happening to their block, and they had several children in the house. They did not have water for baths, and they did not have water for drinking water, and she was purchasing water, bottled water, and bringing it into the house at a high cost, so she may not have been using the water at that time. So I guess that's my comment.
Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, I'm going to the vote. Now, this is where I wanted to show you what happens. But see, now I have to scroll. This is my complaint. Now I have to go find it, where it should automatically pop up what I'm doing. Right here. but then I'll show you what else happens. I need you to stay to make it easier. Okay, the voting's now open. Voting's now closed, passed unanimously, thank you. And then you see, it does the same thing. So then what happens, as I stroll, then I hit the wrong one.
Yeah, because you're not ready to vote yet, because you gotta go back. You gotta go back to,
No, I don't.
because you gotta go back to your meeting agenda. 'cause
Yeah,
now you're done.
but you see all the work I have to do? It takes 10 minutes to get to every item. Let me shut the. Sorry for our patience, but we're teaching our administration staff on how to help us improve the system. Okay, we're now on item 11.8, Food and Beverage Card Service Agreement. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move the motion that a food and beverage card agreement between the city and the Prince Albert Golf and Curling Club Inc. be approved for a 3-year term from May 1st, 2021 to April 30th, 2024, that an annual service fee in the amount of $2,000 be paid to the city throughout the term of the agreement, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city once prepared.
Thank you. I need a seconder, please.
I'll
Councillor
second
Edwards.
that. I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none in the queue. Yeah, but you see what I mean? Yeah, I shouldn't have to do that, but I have to do it. Okay, the voting is now open. But watch, it goes back the same thing when I get out of it. I need one more vote. Oh, thank you, I got it. Voting's now closed, accepted. Now you see, it's the same thing when I go back. So then I have to go.
What happens if you just click on it? Just click on this one.
Yeah, and then but see, it's ready to vote. I gotta go over to this part.
Yeah.
You see, that's the problem. And then you gotta scroll up to this one. I can hear somebody yawning. I heard that. Okay, we're moving on. 11.9, 2021 roof report. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. That's $6,000 be approved for the committed capital reserve for the reshingling of Muir Park storage building. That $10,000 be approved from the committed capital reserve for the reshingling of the north face of the Bernice Saï Center. That $20,000 be approved from the committed capital reserve to repair the roof below the bell tower at the Prince Albert Arts Center.
Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Now, any discussion? I see nobody in the queue. Here I go again. Oh, you wanted to speak?
Yes, just a comment there, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, okay, hang on. Councillor Ed.
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, you know, the report is quite detailed and comprehensive of all the roofs, so I appreciate the individual who put that together and, you know, had prioritized these roof replacements, so in support of this motion here. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I had, okay, got a break. Okay. Yeah, this has to change here. Okay, voting is now open. Voting is now closed. Accepted. $11.10, 2021 property tax bylaw. No, is this where we have our, oop. Okay, our first requested speaker on this will be Cameron. If you could come in and go to the podium. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, where you're from, and who you represent.
Great. Thank you, Your Worship, members of City Council, administration. It's a pleasure to bring comments on behalf of the Saskatchewan Landlord Association and our over 600 members spread throughout the province. I'm Cameron Chiquette, the Chief Executive Officer with the association. I hail from the beautiful city of Saskatoon and I'm delighted to be here with you today. Our association represents over 75% of Prince Albert's landlords who are a part of Saskatchewan's rental housing industry that each year provides over 10,000 jobs to this province and generates over 1.6 billion with a B dollars in GDP every single year. Now these stats, I share them with you because they demonstrate the significant role that rental housing plays not only in this city but in our entire province. Our members are proud to provide safe, high-quality rental homes for the people of Prince Albert, and we regularly invest in the ongoing maintenance and development of our rental housing providers. In the past 2 years alone, rental housing providers have provided and contributed over $9.5 million in multifamily construction in this city, providing good jobs and good homes to the people of Prince Albert. I'm here today to speak in opposition of the $35 base tax because it is yet another base tax being added onto the backs of property owners in this city. But the main issue is that it's being instituted inequitably across the property classes. Now, don't get me wrong, we're in favor, largely in favor of more police officers for Prince Albert, but we are not in favor of a tax being applied unfairly to rental housing providers. And I say this because, for example, a commercial property owner with a strip mall on one property may have 10 separate units, 10 gas bars, 10 grocery stores, and they may pay just $35. But if a rental housing provider in a multi-residential setting has one property with 10 units, they pay $350. So barring any additional clarification here today, that would illustrate an unfair spreading of the property tax across the base. Similarly, someone who has a $1 million house in a new neighborhood in Prince Albert is not being equitably treated because the same person with a $40,000 house in an older neighborhood pays $35, showing that the tax is not being spread fairly across the tax base. But interestingly enough, this new tax comes after this council resolved to have a 0% tax increase in this year's budget and is now looking for money after the fact. At a time when rental housing providers and property owners across the city are facing increased construction and maintenance costs, tax increases will only further inhibit investments in the city's housing stock, providing less options for newcomers, workers, and young people that may want to live in PA. I'm not saying rental housing providers don't deserve to pay their fair share, and we do. We're one of the largest property taxpayers in this city. What we're asking for is equity across the tax base, where all properties pay their fair share through a general mill rate increase that can fund more police officers in the city. Community safety is that, in fact, the responsibility of the entire city, not just a few property classes. We're committed to working alongside the Prince Albert Police Service and the city administration in reducing property crime in multi-residential buildings through targeted enforcement and proactive crime reduction strategies. We are beyond proud to provide housing to the city and are happy to partner with the council and the administration to develop public policy that supports continued investments and ensures the long-term success of Prince Albert's housing stock and the people of this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I ask the guests to depart, is there any questions of this guest? Councillor Zierakowski.
Thank you, Cameron. Thanks for being here tonight, and I listened to your words carefully. Didn't have time to read your correspondence because it was just in front of us before the meeting, so thank you for going to the podium. How long are you in town for before you head back?
As long as I need to be. Okay. Saskatoon's not too far away, so happy to stay until after the council meeting should you desire, Council.
Perfect. What I'd like to do with you is maybe tomorrow morning or tomorrow evening or maybe even later tonight, if the sun is still up, is go for a drive with you and take a look at some of the large number of slum units here in our community. And I have a large number of friends and residents throughout the city who would not be happy with me if I didn't ask you this question. So the organization that you represent, what initiatives are you undertaking specifically here in Prince Albert to decrease the large number of slum units, landlords? What authority do you have with those slum landlords in our community, and what are you doing to deal with them?
Thank you for the question, Councillor. Through your worship to the Councillor, I can say that our association has limited jurisdiction to deal with negative landlords, and we face that issue across the province. You're probably familiar with that dreadful condo on 20th Street in Saskatoon that is regularly mired with problems. And our association exists to represent good landlords, but also to educate those that are on the line. And those landlords who choose to become members of our association and commit to best practices in our code of ethics, we can follow up with complaints filed by tenants on issues. However, we don't have jurisdiction over those landlords who are not our members, but that doesn't preclude us from advocating for good public policy across the province.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Your Worship. And thanks, Cameron, for coming and providing some words. I find it kind of interesting when you talk about fair and equal. I do find it interesting because we know that if we split equally the cost of police and fire across all properties in our city, it's $1,800 minimum tax. So where's the equality in that? I find it interesting that you come and criticize some of the work the council has done on behalf of the Landlords Association of Saskatchewan. A 0% increase. Yeah, we did. We did say we were going to come in at a 0% increase in the mill rate, and we did. This is different. There is a need in our city right now for policing, unfortunately. And we need to address that. And so $35 is under $3 a month towards every property in the city, and we all rely, every single person in this city rely on police. Renters, property owners of commercial buildings, residential owners, we all rely on police. And I think it's very fair to put on a base tax to try and bring in, and we're going to give, if this passes, this goes to the police, and hopefully they'll use it for 4 police officers, but that's up to the Board of Police Commission. If we can get 4 police officers, we know and we hope they're going to utilize this money to be proactive. Because right now we're reactive in our city. We're reactive. We have 1 unit in the city that is proactive, going after guns, drugs, and gangs. And guess what? They're doing a heck of a good job. They're making criminals uncomfortable to come into our city and commit crime and to bring substances, illegal substances and illegal guns to our city that's wreaking havoc. And so some of the people that are renters are causing some of these problems. And the landlords are not always doing their job at controlling who's coming and going in these properties. They're not. So I believe that this $35 is equal, completely equal, because we all rely on it. And we want our police. We've all heard in this room that we want to be proactive. If we can catch some of these people and talk to them about, hey, why the heck are you in these guys' backyards 10 times a night, right? If we can be proactive and get a unit that can do that, good. Because we know that people are sick and tired of crime in our city. They're sick of it. Mm-hmm. So I do take a little bit of offense for some of the words that you utilized tonight. I've learned a long time, words matter. I believe that some of our landlords in our city aren't controlled. And it's unfortunate. And my colleague talked about some of the slumlords. And I would bet that some of those slumlords belong to your association. And you just said we don't have much control. I also know that some of those landlords that belong to the association have illegal suites. What are we doing about that? Do you have control on that, Cameron?
No, we would rely on the tenants or similar complaint-driven bylaw enforcement procedures on that. Our recommendation to our members is that they obviously follow all of the codes of their respectful municipality. Non-conforming suites, though popular across the province, landlords take on additional risk when they have those. It's incumbent upon either the landlord to conform to the bylaws of the municipality, and if they aren't, the tenants to report that to planning and development or the respective department within city administration.
So not much can they do about the illegal suites. They rely on the tenants, it goes to the rentalsmen, and not much gets done, and that's unfortunate. That's all the questions I have for now for our guests. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Cameron, unfortunately, I apologize for having my back to you, but with our system and with COVID restrictions, I have to in order to speak into the mic. Thank you for coming to what I would say is the most beautiful city in Saskatchewan, which is Prince Albert. Thank you for coming to visit. The city with 3 prime ministers, great history, and great accomplishments in many, many things. So thank you for coming to our city to visit and to make your presentation tonight. I want to echo some of the things that my fellow councillors said. I have apartment blocks in my ward, and I have some that unfortunately are going to be having to pay $35 per apartment, and those are the Homeward Bound, run by the YWCA. You guys should learn, or if you want to learn how to run an apartment building, these people have a model of how it's done really, really well. I am not saying other organizations don't, but they run the Homeward Bound program in my ward. It's an excellent program. There are problems. There's no doubt about it. Services are called. Police and fire services, ambulance services are called to those apartment buildings. But they manage those buildings 24/7. Next to them are some other buildings, apartment buildings, that are totally out of control. And that's the problem. $35, the majority, a year, that's a year. That's not a month or a week or whatever. That's $35 a year for 4 police officers, to add 4 police officers. That is is a small amount. Now, our option is to have a tax increase. And so the assessed value of those properties, what would be the tax increase if we added a $35, or we needed to make that money? What would the property taxes have gone up on those apartment buildings? My guess is it would have gone up more than $560 for one of the buildings in my ward that has I think it's 16 suites in it, that you're talking about, that is so hard done by. And so if you look at that, I think this is probably a cheaper option for your association, is having the flat fee of $35 a year rather than a certain percentage of tax increase. That would be my guess. Maybe I'm wrong on that. The second point is that majority of the residents in my ward in the election talked about policing, talked about some of these buildings that are out of control. What do we do? I mean, like, we need to have management there, or managers there. The three buildings in my ward, those apartment buildings, they at one time were one of the nicest buildings in Prince Albert. Apartment buildings. They had on-site managers. They don't do that. These big corporations buy these buildings, and all they do is take rent. They don't make proper repairs to the building. If you look at the buildings, as Councillor Zurkowski, make sure if you do go for a drive, go on Brannion Drive and show the three buildings that I'm talking about, and look at the repairs, how they do repairs. It looks really bad for the entire neighborhood, the entire block. Majority of people talked about that. They wanted to have more policing. They wanted, and I have specifically asked, would you pay? I asked some residents, would you pay increase in taxes for more police? And they said, if it's going directly to police, yes. And that's what this is doing. This is going directly to police, and therefore I think I have a lot of residents in my ward that are willing to pay this extra $35 a year. $35 a year. I take exception to you when you say that $1 million, because I have some homes that are up in that area, and I have a wide spectrum of properties. I take exception to you that you think that because somebody lives in a nice house, that they should have to pay more and more and more and more. They already do pay a lot more in taxes than other residents. And I take exception to you saying that they should be paying more. They already are. If we wanted to do services, paying for services in this city, those residents in my ward, majority of them, their taxes would go right down if we spread out the taxes equally and fairly, as you say, in the city. If we did that, taxes in my ward would go really down significantly. Right now, they already are paying a significant amount of taxes to the entire city, for running the entire city. So as Councillor Edwards said, the $1,800 for policing and fire services, that's what it costs per resident, per property. That's what it's costing us if we average it out. We have a lot of properties that don't even pay that in taxes. Pay half of that in taxes. And so I think I'm going to be voting in favor of this $35 per year tax increase on the residents of the residents of Prince Albert. One last point. Residents said to me that when you're in an apartment, you're getting the exact same services as I am in my house. I get police, I get fire, I can go across to the spray park, I can go to the playgrounds, I can use the Art Hauser Center, I could go to the inclusive park. The largest inclusive park in Canada is in Prince Albert. Did you know that? The largest inclusive park in Prince Albert. All those people in apartment buildings and in houses all have equal access to that. Why? Is because we budgeted. We put money into those things. We based it on the Community Services Master Plan where we had a vision. And so this council is very responsible and very responsible with the taxpayers' money. And I take exception to being saying that, you know, we're being sneaky or we're doing things behind backs and all this kind of stuff. That's not what we're doing here. And I'm not accusing just you of saying that. You didn't say that, but we've heard that. So I am going to support. I'm going to wrap up now. I spoke long enough. I am going to say thank you for coming to the most beautiful city in Saskatchewan.
Any other comments? I'm just going to say this in a general term, sir. The reason why I'm supporting the $35. I've been on the police commission now for over 19 years. And one thing is a fact. We respond overwhelmingly to rental properties over privately owned homes. So who is using the service? I used to live in the West Flat. 10 times a month I used to call the police. I finally moved on the hill, and I might call once a month. And so I think it's a fair tax. Strictly, it's $35 for every door. And if you would look at our stats, and I'm willing to share them in private because of LaFoy, I can't name them, but overwhelmingly, we, as the police, respond to rental properties over private homes. And so that's one of the reasons I'm supporting it. And I also support something that's fair and equal. We all have access to police. We all have access to fire. And to me, that's where it should be going, is everyone should pay the equal amount. If we had to put a minimum tax in just to cover police and fire, as you heard, it would be $1,800 a year. Well, I doubt if half your members pay that tax. So we're trying to make it better. Overwhelmingly, in this last election in the city of Prince Albert, the number one issue was crime. Number one, by a long shot. Number one issue. They're tired of us. They want us to do something. And I'm glad you offered to come and work for us. Help us, not work for us, help us, because I will be calling you to a meeting on how we can deal with some of these properties. And again, you're limited on your authority. And I know the building that you're talking about in Saskatoon. It used to be a beautiful condo. But what happened? What happened to that beautiful condo? They allowed them renters. Let's be honest. That's what happened to that condo in Saskatoon. It was a beautiful condo till the association allowed rentals. And look what the rentals have done to that building. I feel sorry for the elderly that are stuck in that building. So I challenge Saskatoon to help them out as well, because it's a fact that that's what happened. So I want to thank you for coming. Thank you if we got a little aggressive, but we love our city. We're passionate about PA, and we do want to make it a better place to live. So I want to thank you, and I'll invite Brian Hall to come to the mic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, do we have to sanitize? Okay. Brian, if you could just wait by the door, we have to sanitize the podium first. Sorry. Thank you, Brian. You have the floor.
Mayor Dion, city councilors, I really do appreciate you taking the time to hear my presentation. I'm very glad to be here, I think. We'll see how it goes. I would like to begin by saying, and this might be a bit of a surprise, but we certainly do support the move to hire more police officers. I attended Chief Bergen's presentation to the Chamber of Commerce the other night and was impressed by the work that they're doing. We're active in working with them on homelessness and other areas, and we do believe that a fully funded police force is an important part of the community, and we do appreciate the moves they're taking to get away from trying to arrest their way out of the situation we're in. The second thing I would say is that we at Riverbank are quite willing to pay our share of the costs of this. There's no doubt. I believe in taxation. I believe in a progressive taxation system. I believe that taxes are the glue that holds the community together, and that without a fair and progressive system, that the services that we need and the things that we need done just don't happen. Having said that, and having looked at this recommendation for $35 per door, I must express my opposition to it for a number of reasons. The first one being, it's not $35 a door, it's $35 times 100 doors, or times 500 doors, or times 1,000 doors, however many units a particular organization may have. So I'm just going to use 3 examples here, and some of you, I'm not going to mention or give any names, but I'm sure you'll know who I'm speaking of. An organization with 100 units is obviously going to pay $3,500 in increased taxes this year to meet this. An organization with 500 units is going to pay $17,500, and an organization with 1,000 units is going to pay $35,000. If this tax increase were based on a 1% across the board, which the expenditure at $500,000 is approximately 1% of the revenue that you take in, then the expenditure from the organization with 100 units would be $1,750. 500 units would be $8,750, and 1,000 units would be $17,500. So 1/2. So while you while there has been an argument made about the increased responsibility of rental properties for policing or whatever, I don't think that anyone would suggest that it's double. We have properties that have never seen a police car or a policeman in the yard, and more of them than those that have. So we're asking you to really consider this. I think this move to flat taxes and regressive taxation is something that is a slippery slope. Once you get started on it, essentially what you're doing is piling costs on organizations that have no place to regain them. So we are in the position of not being able to do much in the way of rent increases. Our clients' income, which is minimum wage, child tax credit, student allowances, social assistance, SED, disability programs, old age pensions, etc., doesn't really improve very much or change very much. And most of what it does change seems to go to increased costs for things like groceries and transportation. So our clients live in a world where their costs are continually increasing, and they don't really have the capacity to pay us more rent. We're living in a world where our costs are also increasing, and we're limited in our capacity. In order to do this, we are going to have to cut capital expenditures and stop doing necessary repairs and that sort of thing, and that's very unfortunate. And I will tell you something, and this is not, it's a statement of fact that, you had mentioned the fact that if everyone paid their share, the taxes per unit for police and fire would be $1,800. Well, if the taxes on our studio apartment in the West Flat were $1,800, you would very quickly own that building and have the opportunity to become a landlord because we couldn't afford to keep it going. The other point I want to make to you is that we often hear about the difficulties associated with rental housing. And in fact, there are criminals that come here and try to make their way, that find places to live, that rent, sometimes because landlords are negligent, sometimes because you just make a bad call. Somebody can appear to be a perfectly honest person and be a real creature of the night, and so we do the best we can to make sure that that doesn't happen. But I would point out that our clients are also the glue that holds this community together. Our clients are the students in the schools where the high-paid teachers and instructors make a living. Our clients are the workers in the hotels and motels that do the cleaning, so that when people come here for hockey tournaments and drop thousands of dollars, they have a place to stay. They're a part of this community and they have a role, and to kind of see them, you know, categorized as being criminally inclined and not requiring more services and not doing their part to maintain law and order, I think is unfair too. So with that, I would close my presentation and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of our guest? Last chance, don't think about it. Okay, thank you, Brian. I'll move on. No, just give me a minute, I have to. Okay. You're going there, Terry? Okay, so I need a motion, please. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make the motion that bylaw number 7 of 2021 be introduced and given first and second readings.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
I'll second that, Mayor Dion.
Could you kill your mic, please? Thank you. Councillor Head.
Thank you. I'd like to speak on this motion, at least provide a couple comments. Thank you, Your Worship.
Go ahead, sir.
So at this time, I will vote in favor of this motion, and it's I appreciate the presentations from both organizations, and what I heard is willing to help out, and definitely there's a need for policing in our community here. So as I'll reiterate, and I want to echo some of the comments from my colleagues here in this room, because I know I will vote in favor of this motion because I know that these police officers are needed, despite the fact that many of the constituents are concerned about the cost. I've seen the statistics, and I've heard from enough people to know that these extra officers are needed. But I do this with a caveat. We are forced to increase the policing budget to deal with the increasing crime, not an increasing population. That's a Band-Aid. We know what the issues are. We know what is needed. We just don't talk about it, and we don't want to invest in it. I'm telling you here and now, no, I'm repeating what many people far more knowledgeable in crime prevention than me have said and warned about. If we don't look after this problem, we'll keep paying for it in other ways. Today we're talking about $35 a year per household. That's what it means here, money. But out there on the streets, it's hunger, it's violence, it's fear, it's addiction, and it's death. And we need to do something more than putting a Band-Aid over it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Zierakowski.
Thank you, Worship. A few thoughts, initial thoughts, if I may. I like the innovation in this proposal insofar as the base tax. What I think we need to do now is carry that conversation a little further and have the conversation with the province and say, look at what we're doing locally. We are willing to step up to the plate and bear some of the burdens as well as the gifts and the challenges that come with this community. And so now I think tomorrow morning we turn to the province and to the federal government and say, look at our numbers. Take a look at our community. And we need you to be contributors as well to the success of our community. We have a lot of challenges, but we have a lot of good news stories as well. And I think the tax dollars that leave this city to go to Ottawa and to Regina need to come back to this community as well in terms of public safety. Because to me, that's what this is. This is one piece of the pie towards public safety. It's not the complete answer. The relationships with our nonprofits is growing. It's those partnerships available, I think, out there are really important. I want to pause here for a second because I'm trying to reflect upon And I'm pleased to see today is only first and second reading. Because to me, I think what we have to do now is, we heard the presentation from one of our housing agencies, and our housing agencies, by and large, are not contributors to the slum epidemic, problem in our community. By and large, they are not. They do a pretty good job with the resources they have. But in my mind, before we pass third reading, I'd like us to take a closer look at what we could do for those housing agencies. Because by and large, those are the seniors living in many of them. Those are the working poor trying to get ahead in our community. And so maybe there's some alternatives out there that we didn't land on right away. We've heard from them that they want to contribute, that they feel honored to contribute. Maybe there's a formula out there that comes with some sort of a cap. Maybe some sort of percentage based on the number of units they have in the community. But what I'd like to see before we pass third reading is take a closer look at what we could do, some options from financial services to come back to us and say, what can we do when it comes to the housing agencies? These are places like Northcott, Molstead, Sherman, plus many, many other single-family developments out there in our community. So I invite you before I wouldn't vote for this today if it was third reading. So I invite you to see if we can reflect on that over the next couple of days and ask financial services to come back with some innovation to see what we can do specifically when it comes with our housing agencies. But I like this proposal. I like the package. It gets us further where we need to go when it comes to tax fairness.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm obviously in support of this, and I hear what Brian said. You know, the vulnerable in our community, they are residents, they are citizens. This council has understood that. This council has passed a budget that was very understanding and very giving to all residents of the city. You know, we understand that people are struggling. You know, our care homes, look at what happened a couple years ago with our care homes. The provincial government says they're businesses. So we have to apply the business tax. One care home went from $55,000 to $165,000 a year in taxes. We said, no, this is wrong. And we as a council pushed and made a special category. And they had a modest increase in taxes that year. Something like $55,000 to $58,000 or something. Spread that out over the 50 residents that's their home, 54 residents that's their home, then it was affordable. And that's what we've done. We have provided busing, subsidized busing for the most vulnerable in our community. You know, we've done, and I could go on and on, you know, passes to our facilities, community services. We always pushed, and when we came up with fees, we made sure that families, seniors had a discounted rate at those kinds of facilities. Students had a discounted rate at those facilities. We've done a lot to help. What this does, though, is this gives our largest cost to the city. You know, what is it, 17 million or whatever we pay for policing. All we're asking is each resident pay $35 a year now. Each door, I should say, pay $35 a year for a multi-million-dollar service that we all get equally. That's what this is about. And it amounts to $3 a month. That can be a challenge for some. I understand that. And that's where we need to look at, you know, be creative. If somebody can't pay it or whatever, we need to be creative somehow to make sure that people can make that commitment. That's all I have to say. So I'm in support of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Zepp.
I move an amendment that a police base tax be removed from bylaw number 7 of 2021.
So just so the rest of the councillors, you're asking that we remove the $35 base tax from the bylaw.
That's correct.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Miller? Go ahead, Councillor Miller.
Yes, I'll second it. And do you mean that we're going to impose a percentage then?
So if I may speak, so if a need is found that we as this council determine there's a need for a certain amount of funds for police resources, if that is something that this council is saying that is a need, then it is more responsible of us as a council to apply that to a mill rate than it is for a base tax. And I would like the proponents of this base tax to be able to answer the question that Mr. Howell posed to us. Why is it that we would impose a base tax that will impact on people in our city who are living in these small rental units, smaller than a single dwelling house, that are residing on old age pension, disability? He listed the gamut. Instead of, look at the other option, the mill rate. Should we not, as a council, is it not more responsible for us to determine what are the policing needs, what is the need, and then budget at the mill rate? Because why do we, as a city, use a mill rate at all? Well, it's because it is based on the assessed value of people's properties. That's why we use a mill rate. We don't use a base tax for everything. That would be preposterous. We wouldn't say that the people in these smaller rental units should pay exactly the same as people in single dwelling homes. Of course not. And so that needs to be applied to this situation as well. And that we need to consider what are called progressive taxations, which are mill rates based on assessed value of what home, what property you decided to purchase. Instead of just, you have a door, we need to charge you because, and perhaps one of the suggestions that was made is that rental units are using more police resources. Well, I have to say that we also hear in this council that there are many commercial properties in our city that are using a lot of police resources too. And I don't think that we need to penalize any group for using police resources. I think it is more responsible to consider what's the need, tell us the amount, Police Commission, at budget time, this is the amount, okay? And council then budgets for it through the mill rate, as per usual. And I would also like the proponents of this police base tax to be able to answer the question posed by the Saskatchewan Landlord Association, which was, why is it that a building that is a commercial building that has 10 units in it, that are renting 10 units, that commercial building renting 10 units will only pay under this proposal $35, compared to someone who has 10 rental units? And why would that be different and pay and have a very different charge of $350 than the commercial unit? And we know in this council that commercial properties do use police resources. They utilize their police resources as well.
Are you done, Councillor Zepp? I have quite a few speakers.
So just in conclusion, I am hopeful that this amendment passes and that we remove the suggested police base tax and instead look at our progressive taxation of mill rate and also consider what are the needs from the Police Commission here at all.
Okay, before I go down the list, I'm going to respond to the commercial. Yes, you're right. I have 10 units in my commercial building, but I'm also paying that $35 on my house. So should I only have to pay one? You could argue that point. That's why I like the formula the way it is, equal and fair. Okay. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to vote against the amendment. And to answer a question, she said people are being penalized. Yeah, if we put it on the mill rate, who's being penalized? Think about those country residential out by the airport, how much they're going to have to pay. They're going to be paying a heck of a lot more than 35 bucks. They're going to be paying hundreds. What this does is it gives a service that each person uses in the city. Whether I call the police or not, I'm still using that service. That police car is going by my house. I don't know how, well, actually quite often, because I have those 3 apartments down the street from where I live that requires a lot of attention. But everybody is paying then $35 a year, not a month, a year in a tax to get this great service from our Prince Albert Police Service. So that, to me, is what's fair and equal. You're getting a service, and it doesn't matter your income. You're getting a service, and you're all paying the same amount for that service. It would be different, I won't go there. We're all paying the same amount for that service. If your proposal means that a lot of residents in my ward, a lot of residents in your ward, you know where the highest tax, or some of the highest taxed property in your ward, yes. We're going to be paying hundreds and hundreds more if we applied it to the property tax, the assessed value. That's why this is more fair and equal.
Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you, Your Worship.
You're welcome.
I just have more of a question to develop an understanding. When we went through the budget discussions in regard to the mill rate and the 0 increase, the police at that time, the increase was going to be 3.5%. That's what we had agreed and talked about. And when we add on this additional 35 base tax, the actual increase is about 8% for our police services. And my understanding from reading what the police chief says, the indicator of success that we should see, that residents should see in the next year, is an increased presence on the streets for an 8% increase. So I am not. I think I am moving toward being in favor of the motion as amended. I feel strongly that the people in Prince Albert, the thing that I love the most about Prince Albert, is that we're not a handout city. We're a hand-up city, and that some of the most greatest people I know are the people that work. Well, we all work hard for our money. But the people that are living at or about the poverty line. And $35 in a year is a substantial increase for those people. So I will be in support of the motion to remove the police base tax from bylaw number 7 because of that.
Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. An 8% increase to our police service is substantial. There's no question about it. I don't support adding that to the mill rate at all, so I certainly am not going to support the amendment. I talk to many people that say, listen, you need to show us something, that you're trying to do something to curb the crime in our city. So, do I think that the $35 a household is a start to try and bring in a unit that's proactive? Yep, I do. Do I think it's the solution? No, not at all. The solution is certainly something that Councillor Head talked about, you know, addressing the addictions in the city.
Mental health.
You know, the mental health in the city. Our gangs, which generally are created by poverty and bad parenting. Those are the root causes, certainly, that we need to address. But what I think that we're showing a little bit of, and I hope that the federal government and the provincial government are watching. I really do. And I've said this before, Prince Albert is unique. We have our unique issues in a city of Saskatchewan. We do. We also have people that are living here, that are coming up for retirement, that are moving away because the crime is there. I don't want to see people move away. I need people in the city to feel safe. Because if we have too many people move away, how are we going to pay for all the services? How are we going to pay for the parks that we've put money towards to improve our parks, improve our roads, improve all of the city, to try and show that we can do things? How are we going to pay for it? Because I know, unfortunately, I know several families that are saying, you know, we're on the edge here. What are you going to do? Well, this is a start. I believe this is a start. $35, under $3 a month, just under $3 a month. It's a start for every family. And I know we've heard doors. Yeah, there's a family or an individual that lives there that's paying rent. So $3 additional on a rent or on your taxes. It's not a killer. It isn't. I know that. I'm probably one of the cheapest people out there, for sure. I don't like increases, but I think it's necessary. I really do. I mean, we all knocked on the doors as best we could during this election. We all listened to the biggest criticism, and it was crime. Well, how do you address crime? Well, you certainly need to be proactive, which is what we're not doing. We're not proactively policing. They're responding to calls. So hopefully, as a matter of fact, if we show the provincial government that, hey, we're doing our job, bring us more resources. Wake up, senior levels of government. We need assistance. Not just policing assistance. We need assistance. And they have to come to the table for our unique city. It's time. Wake up to see what we have in our city. We have addictions. Where's our addiction centers? Not many. Do we have any over 30 days that address crystal meth? Nope. What we can show the government is, listen, here we are. We're going to put some resources to policing. $35 extra. Not $300, which if we go to the mill rate, some homes are going to be paying $300. And that's, to me, that's no good. Yeah, I get Councillor Kilmer's point. They're willing to give, but they're also tight as well. They're also tight as well. So I feel very strongly that this is a fair way to do things. I know that our police service right now is responding to many 911 calls across the city. 911 calls because uncle is sleeping on the couch and 911. Well, that's something too that we need to address to try and free up our police, because they're responding to calls that aren't emergencies. But some of our people in the city are abusing the system, so we need to address that as well. Proactive policing. Guess what? We can have some conversations with people and say, listen, you guys, we want to help you, but you're tying up our resources by this type of thing. We have 2 police officers right now that are hired for the downtown area. 2 for the downtown area, which cover Cornerstone, which cover the Rotary Trail, and which cover schools, to educate schools. 2. Oh my goodness, how do they do that properly? 22-kilometer Rotary Trail. Whew. That's a shortfall. We're not allowed to educate people because we're short. But I do really hope the federal and the provincial government are listening and say, and hear us pleading, we need extra resources. Yes, I know, thank you, provincial government, you supply us approximately 20 officers in which you tell us where to put them, thank you. But it's not enough. We need mental health resources. We need addiction resources. So hopefully, our new YouTube channel is being listened by some of our ministers and some of our MPs. Help us. Help us curb the crime. Some of this $35 can do that. We can proactively police, hopefully.
Councillor Cody.
Yes, Your Worship. I hadn't thought I would speak on this issue tonight, but I decided to when the motion come up saying we shouldn't proceed with the $35. I don't like the fact that it makes me look as though I'm a person who believes in a regressive tax. If there's any person with a social conscience in this building, it's me. That isn't just only a few people around this hall. I have a social conscience as well. And if anybody believes for 1 minute that I'm here to try and do something harmful to those less fortunate than myself, you're looking at the wrong person. You're absolutely looking at the wrong person. But after tonight, that's exactly what it's going to look like. Don Cody puts his hand up against the poorest of poor. That's not me. That is not me. But I tell you this, there comes a time when we have to say to ourselves, what is the best way to finance something? And this happens to be the best way. It is the best way. It's only $35, and I know to some people, $35 is a lot, as my councillor colleague has said. But at the same time, I can't believe that we're going to go now back and put taxes on by way of the ad valorem system and go to all those little business people down Central Avenue who belong to certain councillors, and we're going to say to them, we're going to stick it to you by way of an ad valorem tax, not $35 each. We thought we'd give the business community a break. We've hit them hard. We hit them hard when we did the $189. We've hit them hard on many occasions. The business community cannot afford another dime, but we think they can afford $35. But for heaven's sakes, let's not put an ad valorem tax on those people so they can't stay in business. I want them here. And I don't think this $35 is going to do anything by way of taking the bread out of the mouths of the people that you were talking about. I do not like this amendment. I'm going to vote against that amendment. And I'm asking my council colleagues to vote against the amendment. Let's not go back to that other system at this point in time. We worked so hard on this budget to bring it down to zero because we wanted to have the ad valorem system stop in its tracks at zero. We did it, knowing right well that the police had said to us during budget time, we need 4 extra cops. What did we say here? We said no at tax time, knowing right well we still had the opportunity at tax tool time, which is today. That's what we're doing today. I know I got a note from someone saying you're sneaking it in. We're not sneaking it in at all. This is the opportunity to do things. That's when you set taxes. It's today. And we're doing it today. That's what we're doing. Our problem here, folks, is not the fact that we should be charging our citizens more money. Our problem is we're not getting any help from the provincial government. That's where we need to get some help. We aren't getting the help we need. These are not our own people. This is a transient community. This is a community that brings people from all over the country. We've got 35,000 people residing in the city of Prince Albert, and our shopping area is 90,000. You think we can carry that load all ourselves? We cannot. And I'm pleading tonight to ask our good mayor to once again, as he's done before, to go to the provincial and federal government and say, you need to give us some help. We need it. We want it. The Prince Albert community deserves it. I'm going to vote against this amendment, and I do hope, we all do, and I do hope we don't bring back the ad valorem tax.
Well, I do have one more light on, but I do have the power to shut the mic off. So I'm going to ask the member, everyone's had equal time to speak, but some like to end it, and it really should be the mover. But it better be something new, and it better only be about the amendment. And otherwise, I won't turn the light on in the future. Councillor Zepp.
Just a point of order, I am the mover, so my understanding is that I do get to close. So I will close by stating that I have heard from many residents of our city contacting me and stating, I oppose a police-based tax. I do not want to see a police-based tax be implemented, and so I am hopeful that this amendment will pass.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to the city clerk because it's an amendment. You'll vote the same way, except for she'll control the vote.
Mr. Chair, I am asking for a recorded vote.
They all are recorded. That's why we have this new system. So anytime you need it, you can have it. It is recorded on the screen.
And I am requesting a recorded vote be recorded in the minutes.
Okay, I'll ask her to print the printout and add it to the minutes. Now I have up on the screen now the motion, and I'll ask people to, oop. Okay, the voting is now open for the motion.
Mr. Chair, I did have discussion on the motion itself. Councilor Rowley's motion.
All right, I'll reset the vote. If you have a seat, I'll reset the vote. And I'm quite sure it's something new, so I'll come right back to you.
She can talk. Oops, maybe we're there. Hope she talks.
Why is it closed? We need it to open.
So now you're on speaking, so now she just tells that she wants to speak.
Okay, go ahead. For something new on the motion.
On this is the property tax bylaw motion itself. This proposed motion includes an increase to the minimum tax, and I did want to state that I do oppose the increase that's being proposed to the minimum tax. Of course, our minimum tax means that those are properties in our city that their value is assessed at such a low rate that they don't qualify to be paying the mill rate based on value of assessment. And I would suggest that instead of placing more burden on properties that are very low valued, that we should be, if we as a city find that we have a budget that we need to be paying, we need to find more revenue, that we should be using the mill rate for the reasons that I stated earlier, that a mill rate is a taxation determination that's based on the value, the taxable value of each property. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'm prompting the question again. Okay, the voting is now open for the motion on the board. Voting is closed. The motion passes 7-2. So I'll pass it over to the city clerk.
Mayor Dion, we now have bylaw number 7 of 2021 to approve the 2021 property tax mill rate factors and levies. The bylaw is for 2 readings today.
Thank you. Uh-oh, I'm ready to vote. Just give me 1 minute, please. I forgot I had to go to the other screen.
Just want to see if it makes a difference.
Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that bylaw number 7 of 2021 be introduced and read a first time.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Edwards seconded. Ready for the vote? Give me a minute. Okay, the vote is now open. We need 1 more person to vote. Thank you. The motion passes 7-2. So I will close the vote and accept the vote. Councillor Brodnick. Oop. Just give me a second. Yeah, we're going to have to change this so I don't have to every time load it.
I know.
Councillor Brodnick, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that bylaw number 7 of 2021 be read a second time.
Thank you. Seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any final discussion? Seeing none, I will open the voting. Voting is now open. Vote passes again 7-2. I'm now closing and accepting the vote. Thank you, and we'll move to the next item. Oop. Sorry, I went the wrong way. I don't want to kick out the Downtown Association. Where are they on here? I don't have them on my agenda. It should be the Downtown Association next.
No, it's the mayor. That was with the property tax.
Oh, so that automatically went. So she got her increase. Sorry, Carolyn. You're,
What happened? Sorry, I'm not sure.
no, sorry, I went to the wrong one. So we're now at the gas tax. So at 11/11/2020, gas tax funding. The one in the downtown was included in 11/10. It's in the tax bylaw. It increased their fee from 5.8 to 7%. That was just a letter from them requesting the increase, and it was already in the tax bylaw. Okay, so we're now at 2020.
So, Your Worship, I have a motion, if I may.
At the gas tax?
That may be heard.
On the gas tax?
No, sir, on the last item.
The budget?
So, if I may, I'd like to propose a motion for council's consideration and reflection, and this is my motion. That administration present to council before third reading some possible innovative alternatives to specifically deal with the housing agencies related to the implementation of the $35 community safety base tax.
So what are you asking, that we forgive it? I don't know what your motion is.
So I have some ideas in my head. I don't want to decide. I would like council as a whole to decide after administration brings some alternative ideas of how to deal with the housing agencies.
Well, stand. Sorry, your motion is not in order. Okay, so we're going to move on. And I'll get propped here. It's out of order. There. Okay, now we're at 11.11 gas tax. Councillor Miller.
Yes, I'll receive and file.
Receive and file. Thank you. Seconder. Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. I'm propping it. Any discussion? I see none, so I'll prop it. Okay, voting's open. Voting is closed. I accept the vote, 9-0, carried. Yeah, we have to change this. Oop, wrong one. Go back. I got the wrong one up, don't I? Outside parking. Okay, 1112 offset parking, 239 13th Street East. Councillor Zepp.
That the use of 2 off-site parking spaces required for a retail store to be located at 239 13th Street East be approved, subject to review and approval of the final plans and related documents by administration in accordance with Section 5.1.13 of the city's zoning bylaw number 1 of 2019.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Head?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Yeah, this is crazy. No, I have to load it 3 or 4 times. We will correct it for the next meeting. For some reason, I have to load it 3 or 4 times. New technology, but it's working, so I'm happy. Okay, the voting's now open. Thank you. Voting's closed. Vote is accepted. Okay, it's now open. Affordable Housing Program Amendment Agreement, 1501 15th Street West. Councillor Miller.
That the amendment agreement between the city and Riverbank Development Corp. for the Affordable Housing Program application for 1501 15th Street West be approved, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city once prepared.
Thank you. Councillor Brodnick.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Zapp.
So this is a really interesting topic. I know that Brian Howell has stayed here, I understand, in case there are questions about this. And I have spoken to Mr. Howell before this vote, and I do understand some further details that we didn't have in the report. However, it's an interesting question. We as a city have implemented an affordable housing program, and part of that criteria is that those residences would, the rent must be no more than 80% of the market rate as determined by CMHC. And so this motion would allow an amendment to that here to allow Riverbank Development Corporation to be able to charge what the maximum rate is for Saskatchewan Housing Authority. And so it is slightly more, and again, if you want details, Brian Howell would be better than me, than anyone probably, to give those details. And so it's kind of a philosophical question, is do we as a city want to maintain that we've provided these grants with the criteria that we currently have to have affordable housing to be this particular formula that's in the program? Or do we want to allow an increase, a small increase, as I understand it, a small increase for the rental? And so I'm interested to hear what other members of council believe on that.
If they have any questions. Okay, I see no one putting their name up, so I'm going to the vote. The vote is now open. Vote is now closed, and it passed 8-1. Okay, I'm going back here. Oh, there, I lost my agenda. Oh, I found it. Never mind. I'm getting better at this. Okay, 11.14, contract zoning extension, Lakeland Co-op. Councillor Cody.
Yes, I move that the contract zoning agreement between the city and Lakeland Cooperative Association Limited for the storage and wholesale distribution of liquid fertilizer products located at 310 and 396 40th Street East be approved for a 10-year term from May 1st, 2021 to May 1st, 2031, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement and any other required documentation on behalf of the city once prepared.
Thank you. Seconder?
I'll second that.
Gilmer. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none. Voting is now open. Voting's closed. It carried 9-0. Okay, information technology. Information technology infrastructure replacement.
The other contracts only.
Oh, we missed one?
Yeah. The
Oh,
other BBD
sorry.
holder, yeah.
Sorry. 11.15, contract zoning extension, BBD Holdings. What's council's wish? Councillor, oh, sorry. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I read the report, and again, I don't see anyone here speaking against this. So they're asking for a 5-year extension and maybe means of moving out. So I will go ahead and move this motion.
Okay.
That the contract zoning agreement between the city and BBD Holding Limited for the continued use of shipping containers located on the portion of 139 70th Street West, as shown on Schedule A, be approved for the 5-year term from May 1st, 2021 to May 1st, 2026. And that the mayor and the city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement and any other required documentation on behalf of the city once prepared.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
I'll second, your worship.
Thank you. Any discussion? Can you shut your light off, Councillor? Any discussion? I see none, so I'll prompt the vote. Yeah, this is silly. Right here. Voting is now open. I'm missing one. Thank you. Voting is now closed. Accepted. Move ahead to the next item. 11.16, information technology. Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the request for proposal number 27 of 2021 for data center replacement be awarded to ESTI, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement and any other applicable documents on behalf of the city once prepared.
Thank you. Councillor Head.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I need to shut your light off, please. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll prompt the vote.
Go ahead now.
I never seen a screen like that. I kind of like it. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. Passed 9-0. Accept. Okay, next item is 1117, residency policy, residency policy. Motion, please. Councillor Zerkowski. Oop, sorry. Councillor Cody first, sorry. In the queue.
Doesn't matter. I move that the residency policy and moving expenses policy be approved.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
No, I'm not going to second that.
Okay. Councillor Miller.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think I said some of these comments before, but I'll say them for the public to hear. I don't think this policy is constitutional, as I mentioned earlier. We as elected council don't even have to live in the ward we represent. I think you have a right to live and work wherever you want to. You should, anyway. And it disqualifies people who live on reserve. People who live on farms that have been in families for a long time. What if they can't afford to move? What if they live elsewhere because of custody issues? An employer has no right to dictate where employees live. That's too much government interference. It's well established that the government has no business in the bedroom of its citizens. I would think that government also has no business telling people where to put their bedrooms, even when it employs them.
Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Your Worship. I actually was hoping that we could move this to another executive meeting for further discussion, because there's some new information that I wasn't aware of. And this is going to impact more employees than we were initially told about. And I would like the mover, if willing, to move this to an executive for further discussion. Otherwise, I'll continue to talk about other things.
That's up to the mover.
It is.
No, you could just make a motion to move it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Just move it to the...
Can you shut your light off, Councillor Cody, please?
Then I will make a motion then to move this residency policy to the next executive for further discussion.
Thank you. I don't see anyone's light. Do I have a seconder for the motion?
Yes, sir.
Oh. No? Councilor Cody? Okay. I didn't have him in the queue. Because you had your light on, so could you shut your light off? And Councilor, can you? Did you say you were seconding the motion?
Seconded.
Thank you.
Into the red mic.
Discussion? I'll just start, and then I'll go around the floor. I just have a few comments. I did ask for a report, and I have it here, that the people that we are talking about are in the top 10% of the income earners in the province of Saskatchewan. And I think that's an important thing to discuss, because that tells us how well we pay our employees, that everyone on this list that we're talking about are in the top 10 wage earners in the province of Saskatchewan. And that's why I support the policy. Councillor Lennox up.
It is already a challenge to find qualified people to fill these very highly responsible roles. And
At this point, you can only speak to the amendment.
I guess that Mr. Mayor spoke about the amount of income that these people would be earning, so I thought that this is quite, what I have to say is quite similar. Mr. Mayor.
I was out of order. Okay.
So, which motion are we speaking to, Mr. Chairman?
The amendment.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm curious to hear what the changes are, to hear more at executive committee. I am opposed here. Thank you.
Councillor Cody.
Yeah, I certainly agree with the policy, but I think I also agree with the amendment. After all, if there's councillors who believe that they want more information, need more information, want to get more information, why not? The more information we get, the better the policy will be, because that's when you can go and get behind the policy. So I agree with the motion saying, let's go to executive committee.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So the new information is simply that it is going to impact more employees that are out of scope than was initially reported to us. And that's why I moved it to an executive meeting, simply that.
Thank you. Now, because it's an amendment, I think the city clerk has to prompt it. So just give her 1 minute. And that's another thing Terry's writing down that we'll correct in our procedures to speed our process up. No, because there's no counting. I like this.
I do too.
Yeah. Are you ready, Madam Clerk? Okay. The vote is now open to refer it. We're voting on the amendment. Okay, the amendment carries 7-2. I'm accepting it. Now, so we don't have to vote on the motion? Madam Clerk? We do? Oh, when the motion...
That was just an amending motion?
Yeah, it was to refer it back to the executive.
Yeah, now the main motion is amended.
So now with that, okay. So I can call the vote again?
Yep. It's on your screen.
It's on the screen. Yeah. Now, the motion is, it's been adjusted to the amendment that the policy moves back to the executive committee. The vote's open. Closes. Motion is accepted, moves to the, back to the executive committee. Okay, now I'm moving. Yep. Okay, I'm now moving to 1118, 2000 is COVID, unbudgeted expenditure, Prince Albert Police Service. Go ahead, Councillor Head. Sorry. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that the funding from the provincial funding of the Safe Restart Program in the amount of $73,371 relating to unbudgeted costs due to the impact of COVID-19 to cleaning and janitorial services, cleaning supplies, to the Prince Albert, impact of the COVID-19 to the Prince Albert Police Services, respecting additional cleaning and janitorial services, cleaning supplies and personal protective equipment expensed in year 2020 be transferred to the Prince Albert Police Services Operating Reserve.
Thank you. Seconder.
Discussion.
Thank you. Discussion. Councillor Zierakowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The COVID dollars that were received by all municipalities across Saskatchewan from other forms of government, the federal and provincial, were they directed to the municipalities themselves, or in the case of cities, were they directed to the Board of Police Commissioners in the city to, and I'm talking about those COVID dollars that were sent to cities to lessen the impact of COVID?
All the COVID money was paid to the City of Prince Albert. The Police Commission got none of the COVID money, and we're told that restart money was sent to the city, and that's why they're applying. Okay, just hang on here. Yep, she's already got her light up, but I lost her in the agenda, so she just got to hang on for a minute.
I think my mic may have already been turned on if that's the issue.
Nope. Well, her mic was already live for some reason. Okay. How does she got her mic on? Councillor Zepp.
Thank you. I have a question for the city manager on this topic. And so, as I understand the report, and correct me if I'm wrong, the report states that this amount, the $73,000 of costs, could be paid for using the Safe Restart Program, or it could be paid for with the existing police reserve. And I'm just wondering, why not use the existing police reserve for these funds?
I don't know if he can answer that. He doesn't sit on the police commission, so I don't think he can answer that. And I think I answered the question when we asked for restart money, the police commission from the province. The province told us it was all paid in one lump sum to the City of Prince Albert, and that's why the police commission is asking for it to be transferred to them.
And then I guess maybe I would have a question for the city manager. What would the city, we see this is the recommendation. We've read a report written by the Police Commission, Board of Commissioners. From the city manager's perspective of someone who manages our you know, all of our city operations, from a city manager's perspective, why, I guess, what is your recommendation? Because we've seen the report, but what is your particular recommendation? Just have this spent through the restart program or through the other means that are mentioned in the report?
I think that's out of order. He doesn't have a vote, and it's for a discussion, and he can't, I believe you're putting him on a spot by asking him some questions, so I'm ruling that question out of order.
I would then just comment that I respectfully disagree. I guess I'm trying to find out from a city, because we understand what the thoughts are from the Police Board of Commissioners. That's a good report to have. I do want to know what is the responsible decision here when we're considering the entirety of the city.
Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you very much. I just need a refresher when we discussed this in council, and maybe I'm in the wrong when we did discuss this. I have a memory of this being covered in the previous budget. No?
No, it wasn't. That's why they're asking for it. It was not.
No.
They had a separate account, but it was a non-funded account.
So we did discuss it. So we had discussed this amount.
No.
At some time.
No. This is the first time you're seeing it. This amount.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to make a few comments.
Go ahead.
You know, we had received monies, the municipality, for things exactly like this. I mean, this isn't the only department of our services that are the frontline workers that need this extra aid, I would say, to protect not only the people we service, but also the jobs and the individuals doing those jobs.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just from a statement you just made, so this was an ask from the Board of Police Commission in the budget, and it was unfunded?
No, it was never requested in the budget. It was when the year end come, we figured out our costs and we asked the province, and then we were told that the city was given 2.2 million for the restart program, and that we had to go to council for it, that they would not fund it.
Thank you.
And that just made sense after I thought about it, because the money came directly to the city. Okay, I'm going to cue the vote. Right here. Okay, the vote is now open. Thank you. It passed 8-1. Closing the vote, accepting the vote. Move to the next one. What did you ask? Oh. Okay, I'm at 11. Oh, I'm almost at the end. Yes, 11.19. 2021 Golf Course Advisory Committee Plan, sorry. Councillor Cody.
I move that the 2021 work plan for the Golf Course Advisory Committee be approved. It's a fantastic plan.
Thank you.
You will know.
I'll second that fantastic plan.
Can you both shut your fantastic lights off so I can move on? Councillor Zerkowski.
I'll be good. So far.
I'm writing this down.
Yeah, the Golf Course Advisory Committee, how many members at large, how many members from the public sits on that Golf Course Advisory Committee? Are they all encompassed of golfers, or do we have some interested members of the public who also contribute ideas?
Yes. No. Oh, do you know? But it's all user groups, it's public.
Can we hear from administration, please?
Yes, I'm getting the clerk.
Snacking upstairs and eating pizza and such?
No, the clerk can answer it, she does committees.
No, there are no members of the public. All members that are on the committee are associated user groups. Oh, there's one member at large. Oh, sorry. There is one member at large, and the rest are associated with membership from the golf users.
So that means we have a member from the men's club, women's club, all the, and the pro.
Another golfer that didn't get on, but.
Okay.
I will ask no follow-up questions.
Okay, the voting's now open. Passed 9-0, thank you, I accept it, the voting's closed. Going to the next golf course item. Okay, 11:20, booking policy and procedure, Cook Municipal Golf Course. Councilor Cody.
Yeah, I can move that, that the booking policy for Cook Municipal Golf Course be approved for the 2021 season with the following amendments. That the 2 tee timer per hour reserved for public green fee play be after 10 o'clock a.m. and the outside of league play.
Thank you. Councilor Kilmer.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none on my screen, I'm prompting the vote. The vote is now open. Thank you. The vote is closed. I accepted it. It passed 7-0, 9-0. Okay. 11.21, TAC work plan. Chairman, Councillor Sepp.
That the 2021 work plan for the Planning Advisory Committee be approved. Also a very, very good plan.
Councillor Kilmer.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion. Councillor Zurkowski.
Thank you. I appreciate the work of the committee and I like what's on the list. It strikes me though that 2 of the items on the list, the last 2 items, the land administration and development policy and land pricing, are really 2 items that aren't as specific or targeted as the rest on the list. And I wonder if there would be increased value if we dealt with those 2 items as a whole, as an executive, together, to encourage more buy-in at the end of the day. I think those 2, when it comes to land pricing and land administration and development policy, deals with really, as a whole, the entire city. And I think if we can bring our ideas that we've been chomping at the bit to have this discussion when it comes to the use of land in our community and opportunities, I think there's value. And I wonder if the PAC would give up those last 2 and so the executive can deal with it with administration at this table.
Councillor Zapp.
I agree they're big topic items and I certainly am not opposed to the idea of having council, probably executive committee, I assume, level, learn about them and gather that information. The planning director, Craig Gittinger, as we went through this work plan, he did point out that those last 2 items are really dense, very, very heavy items. And I think his point, if I can put it, was that they were items that seemed like they could also use public input as well to help to gather thoughts. So I don't know the solution. I think that I'm certainly not opposed to the idea of executive committee in that process. However, it did come from administration recommending that those 2 items also get public input. Maybe it might be appropriate to turn to the director of planning just to see if there are any thoughts on that.
Yes. Well, I have a question to him too, especially when it comes to land pricing. That's really the executive committees. And I don't know why he would want to go through the process of convincing PAC and then PAC sending a recommendation and then we calling them back in to explain why we have a committee pricing our land that's very important to this council. So, is that a real beard? It's right, holy. Now we know what he did in his 14 days of isolation. Could I get you to shut your mic off, please, Councilor Zepp? So go ahead, Director, why you put those last two on the PAC plan before they come to council, especially the pricing of land.
Absolutely, and thank you for the question, Mayor, and thank you for Councillor Lennox-Zepp and Councillor Zurakowski for bringing this up initially. Absolutely, these are really heavy discussion items, as Councillor Lennox-Zepp pointed out. You'll notice in those two items, there's not a specific decision that we're requesting that the Planning Advisory Committee make. For the most part, I think something that we can improve on is establishing consistent and a sustainable approach to pricing our land, and learning a little bit more about what we as a city want to be when it comes to developers and administrating our land. So those two items is really going to be just developing a framework of kind of more of an educational session, and educating the Planning Advisory Committee on what land administration and what a development policy really means. But certainly the decision making, the nuts and bolts of the context of the plan, that will absolutely go to City Council for consideration. And those items, specifically the development of a policy and establishing land pricing, those will start and stop at Executive Committee and ultimately City Council. But with such an important topic, I felt it was important that we just educate the Planning Advisory Committee a little bit. And if there's any specific items that Council would like to see referred to the Planning Advisory Committee, ultimately it would be your prerogative on which ones you would want to refer to them, if any, for a decision.
So my question will be a little more direct. It's a yes or no, or you can add to it. So the PAC, will that be looking at, we've been selling land up by Kin Enterprises for $250 an acre, but now the market has moved it higher, probably to $285. So are you asking the PAC to make that decision to move that price from $250 to $285 and be responsive to the market? Or are you asking them what's the public's opinion? I don't know what you're asking there.
Well, for land pricing, specifically on the work plan, it says discuss pursuing the establishment of a land pricing index or matrix. So no, we will not be asking the Planning Advisory Committee to set pricing on our lands. What we'll be doing with the Planning Advisory Committee is discussing different types of factors that should be considered by City Council in pricing our lands.
Oh, that's a fair comment. Okay, do you have a question? Councilor Zurakowski.
Well, thank you for that. And in hearing that response, I feel even more strongly that I think to have buy-in by the Executive Committee and moving forwards to Council, I think it's important. We all get our ideas on the table. We've been chomping at the bit. What are we going to do with the Green Industrial Park? How are we doing on our zoning? Where's our heavy industrial going to be? Where's our light zoning going to be? So I think it's important that we prevent us taking 3 steps back like we sometimes tend to do. Let's take one giant step forward together and bring that conversation here to this floor.
Sorry, Councilor Zepp.
I have a suggestion to try to propose. Sometimes we have items that come to Executive Committee first, and then Executive Committee sometimes refers those items to an Advisory Committee. Is that a compromise that maybe meets both of the needs? I don't know that we need to throw away the public input, but I think what I'm hearing is that it may be smart to have it come to Executive Committee first. We kind of start that process, and because it's our last meeting of PAC in the work plan, there's plenty of time between now and our last meeting. That I guess my question is that feasible? It might be a question, actually, I was going to ask the Director of Planning. Is the timeline feasible to have Executive Committee consider these items before they come to that last PAC meeting?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yep, sorry, Mayor. Thank you for the question, Councilor Lennox-Zepp, and to the Mayor. I could certainly do that. I could certainly bring a report to Executive Committee. I do feel fairly strongly that in some capacity these two items should be brought to the PAC, just because they are such fundamental planning items that I think the PAC should at least educate themselves on and learn about. However, I can definitely bring a report to Executive Committee with some of my expectations of the Planning Advisory Committee with a request for that to be formally referred to PAC so that City Council and Executive Committee can make that formal, decision on how and if that discussion gets to the Planning Advisory Committee.
Well, if I may make a suggestion to the mover, so if we just leave it where it is in the planning, but we make an amendment that the last two items come to Executive Committee first before they're sent to PAC. Would that make it, yep, that would make everyone happy. Would you be all right with that, Councillor Zepp?
Yes, I would like to add that to the motion, that the last two items.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that sound right? Yep. Okay, is that good, Ted? Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, hearing no other debate, I'll prompt the vote. Okay, the vote is open. Vote is closed, passed 9-0, I accept it. Okay, thank you. Well, we're done the orders, all right. Unfinished business? Unfinished business, we have none. Mayors and councillors forum. Now, just give me a minute because I gotta queue up this vote, sorry. Okay, Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the AGM of the Arts Board and recently, and it was held at the Rawlinson Centre. It was presided over by President. It just slipped my mind who the president is, but they elected a new board of directors, and I want to congratulate one in particular. I want to thank everybody for putting their name forward, but one new director was a youth director, and so that was really I thought that was quite innovative, quite great. They have in their minutes up to 2 youth directors to that particular board, and Rebecca Strong was nominated and elected to the board of the Arts Board, so as a director to the Arts Board. So I want to congratulate Rebecca Strong and thank that Arts Board, their Constitution Committee, for putting that motion forward and to continue to support the arts in Prince Albert. That's very important. Second thing I want to do is I want to congratulate the city of Humboldt. It might seem like odd that somebody from Prince Albert is doing that, but I want to congratulate them on their Tribute Center and Roadside Memorial announcement, $25 million project that I'm sure they're going to exceed that fundraising effort to put in the city of Humboldt a tribute center to the victims and also the survivors and everybody affected by the tragedy that took place 3 years ago, and also then to erect a roadside memorial that will be appropriate. If you've ever been on the Trans-Canada, you have that other Bronco Memorial from many years ago, the Swift Current Broncos, and it's a beautiful tribute to the families and survivors and everybody affected by that. So, congratulations on taking a very difficult tragedy and helping us to remember. Lastly, I wouldn't normally do this, but I do want to acknowledge one particular Prince Albert Raider. As you know, that they're playing in the hub or whatever it's called. The Raiders are playing. They're doing great, I think, for a young team. And speaking of young team, we have one young player. He's a local boy, Dallin Peekakoot, and he was a Minto, got called up. He was drafted by the Raiders. He played, just recently been playing, and he got his first Gordie Howe hat trick. And so I want to congratulate him. I think he's going to be I can't wait for next fall to watch him at that level. I watched him at the Minto level, and he's a tough, but also talented scoring athlete, and a local kid. And I know the Raider office has said that other than the bobbleheads, recently the #1 sale is a Peekakoot jersey. So I think I might have to add that to my collection. Anyways, I want to congratulate him. I want to congratulate his family and all those coaches that got him to this level from our community. This is an accomplishment to get to that level and be a local boy. So congratulations to the Peekakoot family and to their young son, Dallin. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Zepp.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that the Community Cleanup and Pitch-In Week is scheduled for May 3rd to 8th of 2021. I wanted to say a very special thank you to Councillor Charlene Miller, who puts a lot of effort into this every year, and I so much appreciate it, and just want to say thank you for that guidance. And thank you to everybody involved. City administration does a lot of work, and other councillors and everybody. I want to mention that for Ward 2, there are locations where there will be disposal bins available for certain types of disposal items. Take a look at the city website or contact me for further information about where those locations are and what you can have there. And also, any residents, any citizens are able to register with something called Pitch In Canada. And that is, you can register online for no cost. Pitch In Canada will ship you free garbage bags. And then citizens can be encouraged to do pitch in their own neighborhoods as well.
Thank you. Councillor Zurkowski.
Thank you, Worship. There's a young man living in our community that I'd like to pause and give a big shout out to. I've known this young fella since he was probably 5 or 6 years old and watched him grow up. And Reed Lehner has started a business on his own in our community called Reed's Baskets and Things. And Reed has really embraced the challenges life has thrown his way and started this business on his own with the support of his family, and he's doing very well. So sometimes it's popular to look at the negative sides, and we need to really pause and look around us and see some of the roses in our community. And certainly Reed Lehner, I'd like to give him a shout out for his accomplishment at starting a new business in our community.
Thank you. Anybody else under inquiries? Oh, no, sorry. Mayors? Okay, I'll jump to inquiries. Do we have any inquiries? Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. One inquiry has to do with the cardboard bins that we have on 38th. I'm wondering if we can do something about the overflowing issue we have, especially on certain days. They're overflowing steady, and I don't know how we address it, but it's flying into other properties. So I'm hoping that we can look into that at some point and address that.
Thank you, and I'll direct that to the city manager because we also have an issue at East End Rink. Yeah, I think we have to, if it's getting that popular, we have to do more dumps because I do appreciate the people allowing them in their neighborhoods, but we've lost a few in our neighborhoods because we didn't take care of them, and I don't want that to happen. So continue on, Councillor Edwards.
Okay, one more, thank you. A while back, the previous council actually were discussing a possible opportunity to pay their taxes by credit card, and we were looking into a system. I can't recall what that system was. I know that we were looking into it, so I'm wondering if the financial services had followed up on that, and if we could get something back on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll remind everyone to turn in your sheets afterwards. Councillor Zirkowski, then Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. The west side of 27th Street West empties out onto 4th Avenue, right into a school zone of an elementary school at a T intersection. Unfortunately, that intersection is lacking a stop sign. So as you empty 27th Street onto 4th Avenue, people are making a right-hand turn or left-hand turn and not stopping for what I think would be oncoming traffic. So I would venture a guess that if we could throw it over to Public Works, they may have an answer today available and primed up for the public, because the public has been waiting and asking for an answer. And I wonder if there's any information Public Works could share with the public tonight. Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor Zirkowski, for that inquiry. So first I have to apologize because I know the councillor did bring this to the administration's attention on March the 10th, and for some reason it did not get into our incident reporter system, that paper system that is 25 years old, which we're replacing with the new CityWorks software later this year. But we did install a temporary stop sign there this afternoon, and as soon as locates are completed, the proper permanent stop sign will be drilled into the ground and posted.
Boy, West Hill asks, the department delivers. Way to go, Public Works. Oh, try to match that, Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. So a couple weeks ago, we had received an email about the bus shelters, and I understand there was a meeting to follow up with some of the police commissioners along with some administration staff, and I'm wondering what's the result of that, and when can we see those bus shelters come back up?
Could I get you to, when you put your inquiry in, or should he ask for a report? Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, just put your inquiry in and we'll chase it. Thank you. And you're talking about the bus shelter downtown?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there no answer available now?
No, I don't think Harry was here. Okay, any other inquiries? Okay, just give me a minute, let me queue up here. Inquiry responses, notices motion. Oh, there we go. Oops. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that March 15th, 2021 City Council meeting inquiry responses be received as information and filed.
Thank you. Councillor Kilmer.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions? I see none. So let me prompt the vote. The vote is open. The vote is closed, 9-0. I accept. Thank you. Notice of motions. Ooh, you got a few, and then I'll come to me. Councillor Zepp.
That all members of the Planning Advisory Committee, Community Services Advisory Committee, Prince Albert Library Board, and Prince Albert Board of Police Commissioners must be residents of the City of Prince Albert to be implemented for all future members.
Okay, I'll rule on that motion at the next meeting because it's been before us quite a few times. So I'll look into it, but we'll put it on the record for now. Councillor Zirakowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Notice of motion to be heard tonight, if I may, if it pleases council, that administration present to council before third reading of the property tax bylaw some possible innovative alternatives to specifically deal with the implementation of the specifically related to the housing agencies relating to the implementation of this $35 community safety base tax.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I have a notice motion that administration change the fine for parking on sidewalks from $20 to $100 in the City of Prince Albert's Traffic Bylaw 2013. No, don't have to hear it tonight. Read the next one. Oh, yeah, I'm coming. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. If it pleases the members here in his chambers, I'd like to put that motion forward about getting a report about the bus shelter, if that's all right, if it's appropriate here. I'd like to see that come out sooner than later, because I've been getting calls about from residents wondering when it's going to go back up.
You want to do that tonight, right?
Yes, please.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll get there. Okay. Thank you. So just give me a moment. I got to cue the motions. Okay. So number 17, motions. We'll deal with the ones on the paper, and then I'll go back to the two that's on the floor. Motion from Councillor Edwards, Kinsman, Ball, Diamond, Infield, and prioritization booking. They're two separate ones. Do you want to deal with them separately or together? Oh, she's got to deal with them separately. So what's your wish?
Thank you, Your Worship. So I would like to move these, item 17.1 to the next council meeting scheduled for May 2nd.
Thank you. Seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you. I'll prompt, how do I prompt the vote? Oh, yeah, I can prompt the vote. I need you gentlemen to shut your mics off, please. Okay, if you're ready to vote on Councillor Edwards' motion to refer this item to the next council meeting. Waiting for one. Oh, thank you. Closed. Motion carries. Accepted. Okay, and this motion, Councillor, is prioritizing booking games. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. I would like to postpone this one or table this one until May 2nd City Council meeting as well.
Seconder, Councillor Zirakowski.
I will second that as well.
Thank you. Mics, please. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll prompt the vote. Vote is now open. Ooh, we're getting close. You just closed the vote. And I accepted it, 9-0. So now I'll move to Councillor Zirakowski. First, you have to ask for leave.
Yes, sir.
And so just let me get it prompt here so I can use my speakers.
Mr. Mayor, just have a point of clarification. I did a point of clarification.
Okay, just give me one moment. Okay, Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The two previous motions, will they appear as part of our package, or will they still appear as number 17 motions? I'm just wondering, not that it makes a big difference, but the two previous motions that we said we're referring them to May 2nd, where will they appear on the agenda as part of the
unfinished business?
Unfinished business, it'll appear? Okay, thank you.
It would be considered unfinished business,
Yeah,
yes.
unfinished business.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Councillor Zurikowski.
So I would like leave to consider the following motion tonight. Would you like me to read the motion?
No, you got to read the motion too, do you not? So
that's what, would you like me to read the motion? Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
That administration present to council before third reading of the property tax bylaw, commonly known as the PTB, some possible innovative alternatives to specifically deal with the housing agencies related to the implementation of the $35 community safety base tax.
Okay, so just because I'm going to pretend administration for a minute, so can you give me clarity? Are you asking the administration, do you waive the fee? Do you charge the fee? Do you divide it in half? Like, we got to give them a little more clear instruction. Like, all the alternative today is, if you were to ask me, is are we putting it on or are we not? And I've already voted. So if you could just give us clarity what you want administration to come up
So I
with.
think those are three of possible.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are three.
Sorry. Seconder?
So those are three of a possible, I would hope, 6 or 7 ideas that administration, the experts that we hire, would come to us and say, look, these are the choices. This is the impact onto the housing agencies. Is that what you intended? If not, here are some innovative ideas you could look at doing in order to mitigate some of the impact of the property tax bylaw onto them. So those are some of the ideas you mentioned.
Okay, that's all I need, just to clarify what it is, because you have to get leave before we debate.
Okay.
Okay, so just a minute, we'll prompt. So what we're doing is we're voting on leave on whether we want to discuss. What we're voting on is we're voting on leave whether we want to discuss the matter. Yep, and we need 2/3. So I'll get, once she prompts it, I'll get you to vote. No, I'm not. Oh, with me saying that. No, I wasn't. I was open up motions. Huh, I didn't touch it. Okay, I've opened it, so I need 2/3 to give him permission. Your request is denied. The vote was 5-4, you don't have the majority. Okay, so then I'll move to Councillor Head. You go ahead, sir, with your leave request on your motion. What? Yeah, but he didn't get a majority. You have to get 2/3 of majority for leave. Thank you. That is one thing I do know as chair. Councillor Head, sorry for the clarification, but go ahead. You just make a motion to ask for leave and then say what your motion is. Oh.
Thank you, Your Worship. So yes, I'll be asking for leave tonight to present the motion, and specifically around the bus shelter and whether or not the administration will provide a report on when it's going to be back.
Perfect.
Yes, the benches, the shelter.
Put back to where it was. Okay, the benches. To debate, to ask for a report. At the bus shelter downtown. Bus station. When the benches, bus station. Yep, that's it. Correct? Simple? Okay, seconder? Councilor Zirkowski?
I'll second it.
Thank you. So again, she'll prompt the vote. Just give me a minute. Again, we need a majority. 2/3 majority. Sorry for the clarification. You tell me when I'm up and... You what? No, I don't touch it, Sheila. Okay, the voting is now open. I don't think you got enough. It was 9-0. You're up, so move your motion, please. Okay, you're up. Move your motion, please.
Thank you. That administration provide a report on when the benches at the bus station downtown will be returned.
Thank you. Seconder?
Yes, sir.
Oh. Okay, Councilor Zirkowski. Even though a bunch of lights went on, then everyone canceled. Oh. Just wait, she's... It will be. Okay, go ahead. Okay, all in favor?
Discussion?
Oh, discussion? I don't know what you want discussion for, but hang on. It better be good.
This wasn't intentional at all.
Oh, no. I'm out. I'm good. Okay, Councilor Zirkowski.
Thank you. You know, to be frank, I hear what Councillor Head is saying, my colleague across the floor is saying. Why don't we just put them back? Why don't we hear from administration? If that's their intent to put them back, then we don't need a report. We don't need to consume staff's time. If their intent is to put them back, I'd like to hear from administration today to see what their intent is. And if they do plan on putting them back, bada bing, bada boom. This process is somewhat a little cumbersome. My colleague clearly has the support of the people in the room. Let's find out if they intend on putting them back, and if so, good.
So then why don't we just vote to put them back? Why ask administration? So if you could amend your motion that council wishes to return the benches within 2 weeks, week? A week?
Sooner than later, it would be the whole.
Okay,
Thank you.
just wait till she gets it up. Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry, Tony.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I just respecting some of the processes. I understand that there was a meeting in place, so better yet, I'll move that the benches at the bus station downtown be returned next week.
Okay, will you prompt the vote? So just give her a minute. She's got it. Oh, it's on here? Okay, Councilor Zirkowski, shut your light off. Thank you.
No, just go all the way down.
It's not on there. It's not on there. Yeah, why do a report? Whoop. Okay, I've opened the vote. We'll let administration know it passed 9-0 unanimously to return the benches. Way to go, that's the way to do it. Okay, Councillor Kilmar. Seconder, Councillor Zurkowski.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just give me a sec, I gotta prompt the vote. Ah, come on, it's open, gone, gone. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone, very good meeting. And actually, it's done 35 minutes more than I thought. Yeah. We should deal with the... Okay, where's Terry? Okay, so you understand what we have to change? Well, it's crazy. Like every time I go to vote, just so you know, Sherry.
Yeah, I know.
here-
You have to
every-
scroll through.
Well, it's stupid. And then when you're doing this,